Viewer discretion is advised.
Should I stay or should I go? The Oakland A's. So many things are working against the A's staying in Oakland. Some of it caused by the city in which they reside, and a lot of it caused by the team being cheap as fuck. It's no secret the Coliseum is unfit for baseball, and this has been known for decades. After watching the Warriors and Raiders leave, the city just approved the Howard Terminal proposal. But time will tell if the A's patience can last that long, as not a shovelful of dirt has been moved on the site. Las Vegas has a shiny new ballpark that could not only host big league games right now, but easily be upgraded to add more capacity in the future. Shout out to Baseball Bat Bros. Vegas wants them bad too, and sometimes that's enough. You knew this one would be on here, as the rotting carcass that is Oakland Coliseum has fallen on hard times. Or is it Ring Central Coliseum or O.co? I don't know. At 57 years old, the stadium now qualifies for senior citizen discounts and definitely walks with a limp. Let's run down a few things about this place. People bang in the stands because, well, that's the only thing fun to do here. 4 fans got hit by gunfire during a fireworks show because the residents of Oakland were popping off just like the stadium was. This is a true story. The stadium has constant issues with water pressure, flooding, and sewage. The place is infested with feral cats, moths, mold, a nearby homeless encampment, cat shit, broken seats, bad seats, water leaks, and of course, opossums. Visiting teams and the home team alike complain about the smell. Maybe that had Anthony Rendon in such a foul mood when he grabbed that fan. It's also going to get a lot worse before it ever gets better, as the A's are 99.99999% likely moving to Las Vegas, but that might not happen until 2027. And why would you put any money into a building that qualifies for AARP? So in 3 years, when this place is empty, the most likely thing that will be done and should be done is to string up a bunch of dynamite and hit that plunger like it's an old dead beached whale. But until then, hit it good in the right field bleachers if you can, dog. My man. These sketches are brand spanking new, though it's curious just how ready to go these renderings were. As the A's have had trouble getting a ballpark done in Northern California, Las Vegas, like they did with the Raiders, stepped in like the handsome guy friend, just showing the team some attention, and it seems to have worked. The city approved a measure to fund the clearing of the site, and other than the MLB approving the relocation, this is going down. And trust me, they will approve. Originally, the stadium started with these spaceship level concepts, but now it appears the arena will look like this and retain some features that do look distinctly Oakland A's, or just the A's now, like the ridiculous foul ground and circular outfield seating pre-Mount Davis. I mean, just rub it in, why don't you? And yeah, a retractable dome is necessary in the desert.
Oakland A's. The 80s and 90s A's were on so much HGH, I failed the drug test just talking about them. The A's pride themselves on being a small market team that works miracles to keep up with the big boys. Billy Beane got his dick sucked for his Moneyball shit, and it led to some successful regular seasons, but this team constantly chokes in the playoffs. They lost 6 straight winner-go-home games in the ALDS from 2000 to 2013. They've won 1 legit playoff series since 1991, and their home stadium is always 95% empty. Just an absolute disgrace. Stomper, Oakland A's. I love elephants, and I like the look of Stomper, but much like with Mariner Moose, what the fuck does a goddamn elephant have to do with Oakland or a quote-unquote athletic? Is the team trying to insinuate that other animals aren't as athletic as elephants? That sounds like fighting words to me. Grade A-.
Last September, we were told the tale of the Ring Central Coliseum possum.
Last night, the Oakland City Council shot down a proposal that would give voters a say in the A's plan for that new stadium.
We got burnt with the Raiders. We got burnt with the Warriors. Now we're getting burnt with the A's.
The possum, who apparently lives somewhere in the wall behind that visitor's TV booth.
It's a ground ball to the right side, speared by Phillips, flips to Eckersley. Yes, he's there in time, and the A's are the world champions.
The Oakland Athletics are the laughingstock of baseball. And worst of all, they're staring relocation dead in the eye. How did one of the proudest, most innovative teams of the last half-century fall into such ugly disrepair? If you dig deeper into this team's history, sadness follows it, like a black cloud. You might know that they are leaving, but just how did we get here? It's time for the sad and complete history of the Oakland A's. You may not know it, but the A's are one of the oldest teams in all of Major League Baseball. Founded in 1901, they were originally known as the Philadelphia Athletics. Led by legendary manager and later owner of the team Connie Mack, all-time greats like Chief Bender, Jimmy Fox, and Lefty Grove brought 5 championships to Philadelphia. With the team in debt and after a series of bad business moves, the squad was sold and they headed west for Kansas City in 1955, marking the first of their tragic, bitter moves. Their time in Kansas City seemed destined to be short from the get-go. Rumors swirled that the team was headed to Los Angeles even shortly after arriving in the Midwest. However, it would not be owner Art Johnson who would relocate him, as before the 1960 season he was fatally stricken with a cerebral hemorrhage, and Johnson died at the age of 53. New owner Chuck Finley took over. Finley was an innovator in baseball, but also a skinflint and a shrewd businessman. Despite many promises and investments in Kansas City, Finley began looking to relocate almost immediately after he purchased the team. At this time, he changed the team's colors from the longtime blue to the Kelly green we see today. As the on-field product and attendance waned, Finley narrowed his choices down to Seattle and Oakland, opting for the city across the bay from San Francisco in 1968. He also left Kansas City holding the bag after signing a stadium deal. Good old Charlie O. Finley. As you'll see, bitterness followed the A's everywhere they went. Oakland was home to the Raiders of the American Football League, and the two teams would share the Oakland Coliseum, a once beautiful open grandstand by the water in Alameda. It didn't take long for the A's to find success in their new home. From 1972 to 1974, the A's won back-to-back World Series titles on the backs of Vida Blue, Catfish Hunter, Reggie Jackson, Joe Rudy, and Raleigh Fingers. However, things would decline rapidly following their third championship. With the permission of free agency, all of their top talent fled. Catfish Hunter, gone. Reggie Jackson became a megastar in New York. Joe Rudy, gone. Despite the accolades and team success and Finley's knack for promotion, the team never drew well. In the decline, the team earned the nickname, the Triple A's. That's actually pretty good. Finally, he had enough, and owner Charlie O. Finley nearly sold the team to businessman Marvin Davis, who wanted to move the team to Denver, but eventually reconsidered and sold to Walter Haas, who oversaw the team as they became winners again in the late 80s, making 3 consecutive trips to the World Series, capturing a title in '89 in the midst of a major earthquake that shocked both the Giants and A's, and overshadowed a dominant performance by a team that had to wait nearly a month to complete their sweep. That era was defined by the emergence of the Bash Brothers. The young duo of Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco hit bombs as manager Tony La Russa oversaw one of the most exciting, potent teams in baseball.
She said she wanna fuck me with my uniform on!
It just so happened that they also had the highest payroll in baseball in 1991. Yeah, that doesn't sound funny. That was about to change in a big way. When Haas passed away in 1995, new owners Stephen Schott and Ken Hoffman entered the scene and took a different approach to spending. Pretty much the exact opposite of spending. General manager Sandy Alderson was ordered to decimate the once robust payroll, which forced the GM to get creative to find a way to field a winning team without the aid of a blank check. With his protege, former MLB outfielder Billy Beane, Alderson adopted the use of sabermetrics, principles that were pioneered by baseball writer Bill James, that prioritize stats like on-base percentage and the 3 true outcomes over superficial figures like batting average and individual ERA. The A's had a clear disadvantage in resources, but a major advantage in strategy. When Beane succeeded Alderson as general manager in 1997, he began building one of the most efficient teams in sports. By 2000, they were in the playoffs. In 2002, they became a national sensation. It wasn't just that the 2002 A's won 20 consecutive games or that they won the AL West by a convincing margin. It's that they were being followed and carefully studied. Author Michael Lewis shadowed shadowed Billy Beane and the rest of the team during that magical season, writing what would become a book called Moneyball, a captivating account of Beane's economic approach to designing a winning baseball team. Beane and the rest of the front office became stars, maybe more so than the players themselves. But there was a big problem. The secret was out. As the A's tactics were slowly revealed, the rest of baseball started to catch on. Armed with higher payrolls, deeper budgets, and shrewd analysis, teams like the once cursed Red Sox did what the A's couldn't do: win a World Series. The A's had unlocked the formula for winning in the long term, but in the short-term chaos of the postseason, they failed to rise to the occasion. Oakland suffered 4 straight series losses in the first round from 2000 to 2003, each time in the decisive Game 5. Brutal. There's no play that summarizes their anguish more than Derek Jeter's shovel pass to the plate to get Jeremy Giambi out at home in Game 3 of the 2001 ALDS. Man, I wish someone would make a video about that play and whether Jeter needed to actually make that throw. When they finally did get over the hump and make the ALCS in 2006, they were promptly swept by the Detroit Tigers. Toronto Maple Leafs vibes. Ultimately, the A's have made the postseason 12 times since Billy Beane took over as general manager. They've won just 2 series in total and have never so much as sniffed the World Series. It's not just the playoff losses that spell heartbreak for A's fans. It's also the loss of beloved players. Sound familiar? For most of the 21st century, Oakland's roster has been less a collection of talent and more a revolving door of assets. Excellent prospects drafted and developed by the A's that they're simply unable to retain when it's time to hit the open market. Players like Jason Giambi, Barry Zito, Johnny Damon, Sonny Gray, Josh Donaldson, Sean Manaea. The list could go on forever, and they were all either priced out of Oakland or traded before they could walk in free agency. It was pretty much a repeat of the 70s. 80s, and 90s. Even when they did swing for the fences on the trade block, they struck out. In 2008, the A's traded for Colorado slugger Matt Holliday, handing over a young prospect by the name of Carlos Gonzalez. Holliday went on to hit 11 home runs in 93 games as an Athletic before signing with the Cardinals prior to the next season. Gonzalez spent a full decade as a Rocky, earning 3 trips to the All-Star Game, 2 Silver Slugger awards, and 3 Gold Gloves in the outfield. For A's fans, there's no feeling of security. There's no player whose jersey can be purchased safely. The A's have developed a lot of talent, but they've also developed abandonment and trust issues. And unfortunately, that stretches beyond the players and onto the team itself. Look at almost every good team in the league right now. There's a good chance they have a former player from the Oakland A's. The Coliseum. Once a beautiful cathedral of blue-collar baseball, the Oakland Coliseum has deteriorated and crumbled further with every passing season. Some call it baseball's last dive bar, but right now it looks like it's 2 a.m. and the pickings are slim. And trust me, they aren't that slim. Possums have invaded the broadcast booth. I am not making that up. In the last half-decade, the Oakland Raiders, who shared the Coliseum with the A's and built a monstrosity known as Mount Davis in center field, packed their bags and moved to a new state-of-the-art stadium in Las Vegas. The Golden State Warriors didn't specifically acknowledge Oakland in their name, but they played across the parking lot in Oracle Arena, winning 3 titles in that building from 2015 to 2018 before moving across the bay to San Francisco. All that remains in the East Bay are the Oakland A's, and according to recent reports from the Nevada Independent, they're also leaving and joining the Raiders in the desert. For over 20 years, the A's have been attempting in vain to build a new home and remain in Oakland, or the surrounding area. An uptown site was proposed and subsequently shot down by California Governor Jerry Brown. A 66th Avenue site was considered, a Fremont Stadium thought over, even a San Jose project was started only to be abandoned when the Giants evoked territorial rights. Perhaps the most promising endeavor was a waterfront stadium in beautiful Jack London Square, where the synonymous author wrote novels less heartbreaking than what's currently taking place in the Coliseum. In 2018, the team released renderings of the stadium that painted a ballpark that could have rivaled the beauty of PNC or Oracle just across the bridge. The project was picking up steam too, and then the the world stopped. COVID not only halted the baseball season, it ground the A's progress to a halt. And in 2021, Major League Baseball allowed the A's to begin seeking options outside of the Bay altogether. Though bureaucracy and ambivalence played a huge part as well. The final nail in the coffin: in the spring of 2023, the A's acquired a parcel of land in Las Vegas from Red Rock Casino near the Strip with plans to build a new $1.5 billion, 35,000-seat ballpark with a retractable roof. Just after, Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao announced that the city was ceasing negotiations on the waterfront ballpark. While the A's were initially seeking a third of the Las Vegas stadium's cost from public funding, they recently made a deal that would cost the taxpayers just $395 million, more than 6 times their active payroll in 2022. It's all but done, wiped clean. Their fans in Oakland are some of the most passionate in sports, and they've found a way to alienate them all in the last couple of years. It's important to keep in mind the A's aren't moving next season, or actually anytime soon. The earliest timetable for their departure is 2027, meaning the A's still have to play at least 243 extremely awkward games in front of a home crowd that, despite all of its failures, still wants the team to stick around, hoping Daddy comes back from that cigarette run. While it makes plenty of sense to lose interest, a contingency of A's fans have urged Oakland to stage a reverse boycott to show the team and the league how much the Bay cares about the Athletics and convince them not to move, but to sell the team. Sounds like a child waiting for their dad to come back from that cigarette run. Listen, stranger things have happened. The Kings played in a dilapidated mess of a stadium for years with one foot out of the door before a timely sale stopped them from leaving Sacramento, though the greener pastures of Las Vegas has proved fruitful for the Las Vegas Raiders, at least for now. The story of the Oakland Athletics is one of high highs and low lows, and if it ends here, the MLB is saying goodbye to an iconic team. Who knows whether their cloud of pain will be lifted, but if the past is any indicator of the future, there may still be tough times ahead.
He has struck out 4 times. Oh, deep to right. This may do it. It is gone. Bottom of the 19th inning, and we are finally going home. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. White Gallego gets to send him.
What a night.
A's fans, I wish I had any sense of optimism about the team. I want to tell you that all is going to be well, but it probably won't. Barring a sudden change of heart on both sides, there's a good chance the A's are going to be moving out of Oakland in the next few years. It will probably be Las Vegas they pack their bags for, but there may be another suitor or two. It was too quiet. It was far too prolonged. There was no news happening on the Howard Terminal front for months on end. There were too many hints signaling that Las Vegas was becoming the primary target. It didn't feel like if the A's were moving away, but when. To a quiet announcement in the middle of the night on a Wednesday. The A's have a deal in place for land in Las Vegas. The city of Oakland was ceasing negotiations with the team and were moving on. The Oakland A's will most likely soon be no more. If official, the city will be losing its 3rd professional sports team in a decade. The final days of this franchise in Oakland will be in hospice care. John Fisher will reap a fortune for running a team into the ground. The last time I talked about the A's, they couldn't make moves due to the owner's lockout. The grumblings of cutting team payroll were too great to ignore. Rumors of them shedding over half of it down to $40 million in 2022 felt more in tune with reality than doom prophesizing. When it's respected journalists and repeated sources highlighting it, the question is how much are they going to gut? We now know the answer to this question. Everything. This is not an exaggeration. Everyone that had been due for arbitration raises that offseason? Gone. Anyone who could play baseball that would cost money? Gone. And it's still going to this very day. All that's left of this husk are lottery tickets that you hope cash out and pieces picked up at a thrift store. The final concoction is a team that costs a touch more than Max Scherzer's yearly salary. Is anyone surprised at how bad the A's have been since the start of last year? It's roster filler and a bunch of hopes and prayers. It's how you free fall to a 100-loss season. It's how you have a no-hitter going into the 8th and somehow end up losing the game. It's how you start a season 6-26. Who the hell would want to watch this? Why would any self-respecting Oaklander plop money down with increased prices on tickets, mind you, to torture themselves with Moneyball skeleton? Note how attendance figures were on the way down back in 2021? It's gotten worse since then. Last year, the A's had attendance figures below 3,000 people for the Orioles. They had gone from a franchise that was averaging over 20,000 per game to under 10. The move all but imminent, the numbers are down to 2,500. Allegedly. Be lucky to find 250 people who showed up to that contest. I can vouch I was there last year and it just felt empty. The crowd that was there tried their hardest to be passionate, but it was a mere whimper of what it had been. I need to once again reiterate this is not the fault of the fans, even though anyone with common sense can figure that out. This is on John Fisher and Dave Kaval. For years, they've done everything in their power to alienate the team from the city they play in. The evidence is crystal clear. It's in how they've treated the A's over the past decade. It's in the resistance of John Fisher to do an interview and be seen as someone who actually cares about the team and city. It's in the Howard Terminal saga. Howard Terminal was the last gasp, the final chance in a series of botched or extremely sabotaged proposals throughout the years. There was Fremont, which fell through. There was a move in the works to San Jose, but the Giants stabbed them in the back because of greed. Laney College. Nothing has worked. Yet the whole time I was hearing the proposal, Howard Terminal felt like a pie-in-the-sky pipe dream. Something you throw out there as a cynical value grab. If it somehow works out, great, you get the baseball field that's the envy of the league and the value of your franchise skyrockets. If not, you can just throw your hands in the air and say you pretended to try as you move the team elsewhere. The thing is that there was progress being made on the project. It was going through the 11 billion loopholes that the state of California put in, the environmental regulations and workers' coalitions alike. Around the time I made the last video, more than a few A's fans were saying that I was wrong and I'd be eating my words about the project sooner or later. And to be honest, I wish I had been. I've dealt with the same damn thing. Penguins were about 48 hours away from moving to Kansas City back in the day. But there was still the issue in the back of my mind. I've seen this situation play out in the past. I saw it in Montreal, in San Diego, in St. Louis, and even in Atlanta. Fisher and Kaval didn't really want to stay in Oakland. They merely wanted to raise the value of their franchise at any cost. You don't raise such exponential value by staying loyal. If one thing doesn't work out, you quickly move to another. The problem with Howard Terminal wasn't the concept itself. It's that it took too long. I expected the deal to get done last year, and the A's did as well. Sometime in the middle of it all, everything just stalled. You can blame nearly everything under the sun, but to have any shot of this panning out, it had to be expedited through. Then came the predictable snags, and some were wondering if the taxpayers of Oakland were in fact going to be on the hook for some of the project. If that wasn't bad enough, the city lost out on a 9-figure federal grant to overhaul transportation infrastructure to Howard Terminal. Oakland needed everything to go right, and it just hasn't. You can't blame the city for not being able to move heaven and earth. They don't have any money. It just felt doomed from an outsider's perspective. They had to get it done with haste, and they couldn't. The fact that everything under the sun had it stuck in quicksand hurt the endeavor. And then city council changed over due to term limits. The new city executives weren't overly enthused by the project, at least from the terms agreed to. And it gave the A's the perfect excuse to simply use them as a negotiating springboard. It honestly feels like baseball is pushing them away. All the hints being given, MLB removing the relocation fee for a move, Rob Manfred saying that the A's were favoring Las Vegas in negotiations, and several less than vague comments. Let's be clear, if the Athletics really wanted to stay in Oakland, they'd have found a way to do it. John Fisher merely wants an increase in franchise value for a future sell, wherever it may be. MLB wants to tap into the Las Vegas market by means of this team or future expansion. Oakland isn't seen as the sexy option for a franchise, especially since San Francisco is next door, and time is of the essence. Baseball has stated that the A's won't qualify for revenue sharing if they don't have a stadium planned out by next year, which would hurt since they still made tens of millions of dollars in profit in 2022. Rewarded for taking a hatchet to the franchise. It's pathetic. This is how you get a franchise at the 11th hour, merely counting the days like a kid waiting for summer break. An ownership group ready to move on, leaving over 55 years of history in the dust. Worst of all, it's not to anywhere the fans can tolerate or a city that could embrace them whole. It's to Las Vegas, a hotbed of sin and sloth that took the Raiders from them before. We all know what's gonna happen. The A's will get the stadium they want, yet it'll be full of opposing fans wanting a distraction from a weekend of debauchery. Just ask Mark Davis how that's been going for him so far. Morphing from a proud franchise to a novelty thrown around at casinos is a perk. And it's sadly a more viable outcome for them than staying in Oakland at this point. Even worse, Las Vegas is lukewarm towards their arrival. Both the local populace and politicians could take them or leave them. Feels like there's no red carpet like the Raiders got. The whole operation feels soulless. Yet it'll proceed because John Fisher wants money for nothing. The only hope for Oakland is a Hail Mary. And that's if the A's don't get gobs of public funding to build a new stadium in Las Vegas. It's a possibility. And Oakland is open to talking with the team again. Oh god, Fisher and Cobble don't have the funding in place yet. The A's made a rash decision and don't have a concrete plan for the $500 million in public funds they want. Their dream scenario is starting to crumble in front of them and are now looking at different locations for their field of half-baked schemes. Please have this blow up in the A's face. I want to laugh like a goddamn hyena. It will fuel me for an eternity. We can point fingers as to who's to blame. We can debate as to the potential future demolition of Oko and what will become of the Howard Terminal project. However, the politicians and team executives will move on. The ones that really get fucked over are the fans. The ones that devoted themselves to following the A's. The ones that persisted through decades of skinflint ownership disguised as a lovable underdog. The ones being used as emotional pawns for both sides of a fruitless proxy war that lasted way too long. And the ones that just got the rug pulled out from under them. They just wanted the team to stay. And now they may have nothing to show for their frustrations. And this saga is seemingly far from over. The deadline for the A's pursuit of funding in Las Vegas is in early June when the state's legislative session adjourns. What happens if the city they want to move to tells them to fuck off? Fisher and Cobble sure as shit can't go back to Oakland. That bridge has been burned and then burned again. Ideally he'd sell, but Fisher's a businessman. And savvy businessmen don't sell their assets at a loss. In my heart of hearts, I feel that Fisher is simply going to move to Las Vegas at a reduced deal just so he can maintain his pride. And it'll be a grave mistake for the game itself. What will there be in this new location that is somehow better? A red herring of a stadium and a John Fisher looking to sell the team at markup? Over the past 20 years, the A's have had their souls ripped out of them. And all that's left are 4 championships and the husk of a once proud franchise. Memories are the only thing that can comfort A's fans. And this horrible situation is living proof of it.
It's a ground ball to the right side, speared by Phillips, flips to Eckersley, yes! He's there in time, and the A's are the world champions.